That is right, Ric Flair. Tonight, Ric Flair's not actually involved in the production of this video. I hope he's doing well in his life and everything. I love you, Ric Flair. Woo! Okay, tonight we have the Ancient World's Pride and Joy, the prime rib of Ancient World decks. That is the Martial Arts Emperor Dragon Dual Seeger build thing, kind of a chain ride evolution type situation. That's the Buddy Rare Dual Seeger, and this is the Ancient World flag. This is the newest world until July 4th, when there'll be a Dungeon World as well. I'm really excited for that, by the way. That's going to be a lot of fun. Basic strategy with this deck is you have Dual Seeger, a size 3, and his effect is pay 3 gauge and put 2 Dragon Lords from your hand, up to 2, into this card's soul. It has double attack, soul guard, and lifelink 5. Lifelink is a specific, so far, to Ancient World ability where when that monster leaves the field, take 5 damage. That sounds pretty risky, right? I mean, he's a big creature, but he's not amazingly big. Like 7/7, most link attacks can get over that. Well, the idea is, if he were to die, you have Dual Seeger Spartan, which is when he's destroyed, you can nullify the lifelink, pay 3 gauge, put him into this monster's soul, and summon this monster. And this is an 8/8 with 3. So it's kind of an evolutionary system. And then if that one were to die, you can have the option to just go for broke and go Tempest Enforcer. So Tempest Enforcer is when the second one dies, Spartan, negate the lifelink, pay 3 gauge, and this one has 12/12 with 3 crits, penetrate, triple attack, and lifelink lose. Which is that last effect there. Lifelink lose means that if this card is destroyed, you lose. It's exactly how it sounds. So basically, normal Dual Seeger is the buddy. Then I have 4 of this one, the first one, 4 of the second one, and only 3 of the third one. The reason I do that is because you're only going to want to play this if you know you can win with it. Because if you can't win, that 12/12 could be off the field way too fast, and you don't want to take that risk. But he's not totally alone in the fight. As you can see, there's 5 other monsters in this deck. Well, they all have a similar kind of situation going on. They all have an effect where you can drop them from your hand. If you have a size 3, gain an effect. So I'm running 4 of this Rock Dragon Emperor Vargas. His is when you have a size 3, drop from hand and gain 2 life. Very simple, very fun, very clean. PG. Well, G, I guess. This one's Ice Dragon Emperor Glacies. I run 4 of this one as well. During an attack in your opponent's turn, you can discard this card, pay a life, and nullify the attack. That's a good one. That's probably the best one, in my opinion. Like, Glacies and this one, Thunder Tornado, are tied, just because they're such good counters. This one is, if you have a size 3 monster, discard a card from your hand, pay a gauge, destroy an item or field spell. That's really good. It can get over some weapons like, the is it Bechstein, or the other Magic World gun that you just rest to deal damage? That thing's a pain in the ass. Then there's this one, which is the only size 1 of the trio, or of the quad. There's 5 of them. This one is a drop from hand and charge 2 gauge. This one I feel like is probably the best on its own because it's got 5 defense. Even though there's no crit, if you don't have Dual Seeger in your hand, this thing and Vargas are going to put up a pretty solid wall. And the only one I'm not sure of, unfortunately, is the single rare, which is Flame Dragon Emperor Magma Nova. I'm only running 3, might even take another one out, and the reason is all he does, drop him from hand, deal a damage to your opponent directly. Now that in itself isn't terrible, but if you just draw that, and you're missing a Dual Seeger on your field, it's only 4/3 with 3 crit. It is not going to help you. It is a detriment to your situation. Okay, next, I have 2 of this impact. If I were to take one of these out, I'd put a 1/3 of these in. Evil Crusher Steel Dragon Barrage. This is very basic impact. It's pay 3 gauge, and if you have a size 3 and your opponent has no monsters, deal 4 damage. The best thing about this impact is, besides its really nice art, the art on it is, let me show that to you again. The art on it is pretty fantastic, if you ask me. Even though it's clearly like, oh, use this with Dual Seeger, la 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 la. But the thing about it that makes it so fantastic is, especially if you're at the second or third one, you could take your 2 or 3 attacks to wipe out their monsters just to try to put them a little behind and not deal any damage. This kind of balances that idea out. It's really good. I run 2 of it, could run 3. It's an option thing. Okay, next we have Divine Dragon Creation. There are 6 spells in this deck, and most of them are focused on drawing, gauging, or healing. Actually, I think they all do that except for the counters. So yeah, normal spells, just normal buddy fight. This is a double R. This is the rarest of the spells. In fact, the only triple R card in this deck is the Tempest Enforcer, the third Seeger, which is a little strange. Oh, I have the Buddy Rip. That's a different story. So this one's pay 2 life and draw 2 cards. Only cast 1 per turn. That's really helpful because there's so much life gain. This can help you get a little extra draw power going. Speaking of life gain, I have 3 Dragon Dreams. This is just you gain 3 life. Cast many to 1 per turn. I only run 3 because in the horrible off chance that you open with all 3 of these cards, all it does is stall. You put yourself at 19 life and just wait it out, which is a lot of life, but if you don't have any monsters to defend yourself, it can go down really fast. So I feel like it's kind of a dead draw. If you happen to draw into this when you need something else, it puts you in a kind of a bad spot. Then we have the best spell in all of history. I run 4 Dragon Emperor Legends. This is put the top card of your deck into Gauge, gain 1 life, and draw a card. You may only cast 1 per turn, but seriously, that's like plus... I mean, technically that's plus 3 per turn, plus a life, plus a gauge, draw a card. The order that you have to do that in is specific, because then it can kind of like... it can make you salty that you use the card. Like sometimes I'll gauge I'll have Dual Seeger, I'll gauge Spartan, and I'll draw a Tempest, and I'm like, ugh, the salt is real. That's the title of my new book, upcoming book, Salt is Real, by Vanguard Vlogs. And finally, I run 2 Rise and Fall of Dragons. This one is pay 2 life and gauge 4. I only run 2 because this card can kind of spiral out of control, if you know what I mean. Like, if you have 2 in your hand, just like, oh, I'll pay 4 life, or so you only cast 1 per turn, but you pay 2 life, 4 gauge, you can just gauge cards you need really bad. That's why one of the basic strategies of buddy fight in my mind is always like, if you can draw first, always draw first. Gauging should be a secondary idea. Unless you like only have a big monster where you need a lot of gauge, gauging should always be secondary to drawing, just because you could gauge something that you need. And finally, there are 2 counter spells. I run the 3 Dragon Outlaw, possibly might switch up to 4, you know. But this one is choose a Dragon Lord and give it plus 3,000 power, plus 3,000 defense, and counterattack. This is your basic counter spell with the counterattack. It's the only real way for Dual Seeger to punch back, because this one is called Dragon Lucian. This one gives your monster 2k and 2k, but instead of counterattack, you gain a life, which is a really, really cool idea. Now, originally when I filmed this video, I was saying, like, oh, I'm taking it to the body cupboard at the tournament Origins. That's kind of past. I ended up sleeping through that, and I feel like a scrub. But, quick tips. If you do play in an official buddy fight tournament, you are allowed to side deck. If you never played another card game, or you're not familiar with the concept of side decking, that's where you take, in buddy fight, it's 10 cards. 10 extra cards. And they're like, you don't play them in the first round of every tournament. You start with your normal deck. Like I say, I would start with this deck. And then in between, because buddy fight tournaments are played best out of 3 with each opponent. So in between rounds 1 and 2 and 2 and 3, you're allowed to switch out cards from your side deck into your main deck. So my theory when designing the side deck is that you should always fill it with generic stuff, because odds are you're not going to want to like mess with the balance of your spells or monsters. Like maybe take something like this out, but you probably won't want to add any more than there already is. Otherwise, it would already be in there. So this is to kind of make up for problem causes. Let's say you have a problem with gauge. So in here, I have a buddy charge, just in case I feel like I'm not getting enough gauge somehow. Then I have Royal Fork. Royal Fork is a card I would almost run normally in this deck just because it's direct monster removal. Destroy a monster from the field, pay 2 gauge. Good spell. Then Destruction. This is if I'm having trouble drawing Thunder Tornado, or if I feel like they're just keep playing weapons and they won't hold up. Destruction, discard a card, destroy an item on the field. Just like, it's the Smash. Sir Smash-a-Lot card. Then with this deck, kind of a super risky play, but Ultimate Buddy is really helpful. The way this card works is pay a gauge, put this card into your buddy monster's soul. If the card is in your buddy monster's soul, your buddy monster gets Soul Guard and 5k. Normally what this is for is if you were to, in my mind, if you play like a simple or plain no effect buddy, this kind of makes them like a way heavier hitter. But in this deck, it just makes basic Dual Seeger really jacked up so he can get over everything, and gives him 1 more life to stay around. And finally, and this is a card I might recommend for a lot of decks, Burning Bow, pay 2 gauge, it's a 2000 with only 1 crit. Sorry, there was an incident with a giraffe. But it can attack through your center monster. I think it's over your center. Oh, it can attack even if you have a monster in the center. So this can constantly be like a little just like ding at your opponent's. And you may think it wouldn't make a big difference, but in this deck, putting Sieger from 7 to 9 by link attacking with the bow is just so useful. There's so many size 2, especially Dragon Knights, that have 8 defense or can do something annoying that will like pummel over Sieger, and he can't really do anything about it on his own. With Burning Bow, that's really helpful. But as you can see, the main idea with all of these in the side deck is that they don't fit every situation. You're not always going to need more gauge. They're not always going to be playing a deck with lots of size 2s, because this, I mean, like you play a Magic World deck, that will mostly rush you down with size 1s. You're not always going to play a person who's obsessed with their weapon. Your buddy monster isn't always going to need that extra hit. So it's just like the idea of designing conditional situations and thinking of where your deck might be the weakest against certain opponents and putting it into your side deck. But yeah, as far as Ancient World goes as a whole, I would say this is the best deck out of it by far. And it's an interesting concept. Some people might think it's OP just to have your one giant monster and tons of life gain, but really it's just another way to play. That's what I like about Buddy Fight. This is not unbalanced. The only thing unbalanced about Buddy Fight right now, and fortunate, what was that noise? Is the fact that there's so much Dragon World support and so little Danger World support. I would say Dragon World is so top heavy that it can roll over most of the other decks pretty easily, which is kind of a shame, because I think this world and Katana World especially deserve a lot more respect. Respect, nerds. Okay. But yeah, you can make other decks. I think there's 2 other kinds of decks. One of them's called Wild Dragons, and one of them's called well, this one's called Dragon Lords, Wild Dragons. Those might be the only 2. But there's support for the other one. I've never played with it or against it. I don't think it would be bad. I just don't know if it would be as good as this, especially since, if we're being perfectly frank, like 1, 2, 3 double rare cards and 1 triple rare card. This isn't exactly an expensive deck to make. It plays really differently than all the other Buddy Fight decks, which is kind of why I like it. But it's also not super expensive if you like the idea. You can make it kind of just, I'm trying to think. I don't know how much Tempest Enforcers go through, but it's probably not more than like a $60 to $80 deck. I could be wrong about that because of this card, but I could also not be. And the Buddy Rare, obviously, you do not have to use that. I just pulled it in a pack because I'm the Buddy Rare. Eat it. That's why Ric Flair was yelling at the beginning. It was woo! I'm sorry, people who don't know who Ric Flair is. He's a professional wrestler, and he's amazing. He's like, wish he was, you know, my uncle, my cooler uncle. Anyways, so yeah, that's my Ancient World deck. Let me know what you guys think of it. If you have any balance tips maybe you would change. And I promise, pinky freaking swear, that my stuff on the Dungeon World box and those new trial decks will be up on the day or the day after they come out. I'm hoping for the day of. I'll film them at my shop and take them home. Obviously, it's July 4th weekend. I might be doing something like with my family or my girlfriend or something, but I'll do my best to put the video up that day, and if not, definitely by the next day it'll be up. Barring any sort of horrible emergencies, or if I die or something. If I die, I loved all you guys, I promise. But yeah, yeah, so just let me know what you think in the comments. Peace out, yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo, 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 yo. Yo. Banana.